Hello, it's June 2023, and before I get into this video, I just want to be very clear that I'm not stating anything for or against authority types, nor am I stating or implying that there is no forms of injustice by these types. But I would like to highlight something that I see most people in society completely overlooking. It's very easy to blame, for example, police officers when they're engaging the public, individual, and things go very south. Now, part of that problem goes on the shoulders of the individual, for example, police officers who take things beyond ridiculous. And then that's not to state or imply all are like that. I just want to be very clear about that. But it's very easy to blame them for these types of events. What people are missing is the people who call authority types like police based on exaggerations and lies. And the police are simply, for example, interpreting or basing their interaction based on information given to them. And again, if the information that's given to them by a person is exaggerated or just simply a lie, well then that's going to skew everything. And then again, we have the discretion of each individual officer, how they handle the situation. Some handle it very well, and some extremely the opposite. People in today's world want other people to have control over their lives. They don't want to be accountable. They don't want to make decisions. They want to have to deal with anything. They want someone else to do it. Someone else who has no vested interest in them or whoever they're dealing with. And that includes government or any type of authority. An authority can even be, for example, a manager of a store. We'll get into that in a moment. But people want to divert that responsibility from themselves to someone else. Again, people who don't even know the individuals involved. We see this, for example, why with government, individuals who are working within, making life-altering decisions for individuals and causing more harm than good more times than not. But that's not what this is even about. Again, I want to focus on the people who are not in these positions of authority of any kind, who escalate things by being busybodies. And busybodies being the #1 problem in today's world, actually throughout human history, but we see the rise of the busybody. And the busybodies are the less ambitious people who, fortunately, didn't obtain real positions of authority, but they want to meddle in other people's affairs, making their own uninformed conclusions based on their own limited knowledge basis. And again, this goes to even people's within authority type of positions, where they're making uninformed conclusions based on their limited knowledge base, whether it be their professional, their personal experiences, or the information given to them. Now, anyone who wants to have control over someone else has some serious issues, because no one should want control over another individual or even a group. That's a huge responsibility, impacting people's lives, sometimes their life. And people tend to see what they see in themselves and others. It's called projection. So if you have someone who is a good person, they will see the world and other people in that light. But people who are not good, who are bad, will see the world and other people as bad people, like themselves. Now you take, for example, Richard Kinnell and John Hayhurst, 2 former police officers that were involved with the May 4th, 2013 event that completely destroyed my life physically, emotionally, personally, and professionally. Well, at least with John Hayhurst, who no longer a police officer, from what I understand, got dinged for using police computer database in Canada known as CPIC. Well, he's not even an officer. But anyway, I digress. Now, people do not like the whole feeling of being prey to a predator. I mean, it's the natural instinct by all living things. In this world, we have predators and we have prey. Predators go after the prey run, hide, defend themselves, whatever it takes. But people instinctively do not like that feeling of being prey. Now, when, say, for example, someone is pulled over on the roadside, that basic fear and everything of being prey comes into effect. Someone had a predator type, as a descriptive, targeted them, pulled them over, and instinctively they feel like the prey. So they're on the defensive and they're scared, and if they don't know if they did something wrong or they didn't do anything wrong, they are even more scared and everything's more heightened. Now, this is not a dig to being pulled over. I mean, it's not the point. The point is that predator-prey scenario that's taking place. And this goes with, for example, even being accused, especially falsely accused, because it's, again, there's a predator making a false accusation or an accusation, and the prey is the victim of it. And we also see, for example, how there could be secret investigations behind someone's back, or even meetings being held about someone. And then when that starts to come to surface, or something becomes of that predator-prey feeling happens. People don't like that, and that's a natural instinct. You even see this, for example, when police are interacting with other police, say a traffic stop or whatever, and everyone's all tensed up, especially the officer, for example, being pulled over for impaired or whatever it is. It's that predator-prey. Now, the predator types don't see anything wrong with it, because that's just a natural occurrence. It's just something natural. So they really can't see this. Now, I'm going to tie this into with various types of authority. And again, I mentioned, say, for example, a manager of a store, how they can escalate something because they don't have the testicular fortitude to communicate with someone. Even by obtaining that position, they still scared. And so they call, for example, police to assist. And we see very quickly all of a sudden how they're brave, because now it's like, well, yes, I'm the store manager. The problem is the store manager will exaggerate and even lie to get someone else to do what they couldn't. We see this in the example of one of the overlays in this video. And the poor individual who was wearing a helmet in the store, whether that's stupid or not, that's not the point. Whatever. It happened. The problem is how things escalated because of the store manager, his exaggeration, his lies. Now, the other half of the problem is how one of the officers handled it by going off on this tangent. And this is an example of an individual who's like the store manager, who was more ambitious, who obtained a position of authority. But you have to really watch how that all played out. We see, for example, another position of authority with what do they call it, loss prevention person working in the store, making up stories, getting people into trouble needlessly, getting other people in positions of authority, And I've talked about swatting, how people use, for example, police officers and stuff to have revenge on someone. And we see this a lot. It's the people versus the people is the point of all this. Not so much police officers and even government or anyone else. It's the people versus the people. The people, someone, a person, targets another person for whatever reason, uses authority. Authority assumes what's being told to them is accurate, and we have injustice. And when I look at my story in 2012 to 2013, how everything started to play out, there's the second executive director, Frank Kelton. I know he had a grudge with me. I don't know for 100% if he had any involvement or what his involvement may have been with the sexual abuse, trafficking of these vulnerable women in the tenets of this nonprofit organization. But I do know for sure he had a grudge with me. And are just some examples during our meetings, our open meetings, basically to the public. He would be referring to me without saying my name, but everyone knowing he was talking about me in a very negative way, and I would call him out on it because it was not only uncalled for, but there was no grounds for it. How everyone in the organization would come to me rather than him, which I didn't ask for it, and obviously it upset him. And even to the time when we had an out-of-office meeting, and there was some women there that we were talking about business, and they were directing a lot of questions towards me, and he kept interrupting, and then he started talking about how great he was and how much money he used to make and all this other stuff. And long story short, when I ended up making him cry, literally cry. So he had a grudge, and then I show, for example, my resignation letters, which was really based on his and my relationship. Now, the reason why I bring him up is because he would be an example of this Walmart busybody manager exaggerating and lying to exact some sort of revenge. And I know that Frank Kelton was involved around the May 4th, 2013 event because, one, the female told me, and I have audio recordings of that, as well as he was a participant with the nonsensical restraining order the following month. He was present for that. So here's an example of someone using authority types to exact some sort of revenge. Now, can we blame these types of people for how they are, these busybodies and so forth? No, because perhaps it's just poor genetics. But we see this across the board with everything, how it's the people versus the people, and I keep stressing that. It's not the government, it's not police that are really the problem. It's the types of people versus the people. People who exaggerate, make up stories for whatever reason. Maybe they just get a kick out of it. Maybe they're hurting inside. Who knows? But it happens. They use other people to do what they can't. And I've highlighted in other videos where in my story there was a chain of progression with it all the way up to how it was in the swatting video, so I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but how it all kind of one leads to another, and we see this is how injustice is imposed, and it's unfortunate. And sometimes we have, like for example, this store manager type obtaining a position of authority, whether it be a police officer, whether it be government, could be a teacher even, or whatever. And what do? They can even be working in corrections, someone who is trying to interact with an inmate, and they escalate things beyond ridiculous, make up a whole story, while the other guards are just standing there going, wow, they can't believe it. But they can't say anything because of professional courtesy. And, you know, maybe, well, not maybe, but behind closed doors there would be some discussion, but in the meantime the inmate, for example, is suffering for it. I just really want to highlight and stress how easy it is for people to blame, for example, police officers for interactions that go very badly. People have to recognize and address the people who started it all, who made that phone call saying, hey, you know, this is what I think is going on, because as the study is made famous by Julia Shaw, and to paraphrase what she says, it goes from what could have been to what should have been to what was to what is, and next thing you know, within the span of even minutes, things can go south very badly. And then we also have the telephone game where one person's relaying a message to another, and then eventually that goes to, say for example, a dispatcher. The dispatcher makes an interpretation, shares that story again with the telephone game, and the story gets twisted more and more. And by the time, say for example, a police officer arrives to the scene, he's expecting a war zone and craziness, and they're all heightened, and through their improper training and whatever is going on there, things just go out of control. There's a lot of things at play here, but the most important thing to remember is the busybody, the person who instigates everything. Don't forget about these people. And these people, at the end of the day, walk away, nothing. No repercussions, nothing, just continue on with their life. And then leaves everyone else, the police officers, the victims of that, everything else, they're all left to carry that burden. Well, the person who instigated it walks away. And that is my point. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people say to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.